Supreme Court has affirmed same-sex marriage is the law of the land. It's a constitutional right for gays and lesbian couples to marry in every state in this country, which means all 50 states now.
On June 26, 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down all state bans on same-sex marriage. What followed was the need to re-examine existing family law and how they impact same-sex marriages in particular. Here to answer some of your legal questions is Tabitha Charlton and Shannon Boudreaux from Boudreaux, Hunter and Associates. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so already family law can be very complex and it's different from state to state at times. So then we throw in the mix same-sex marriage and all of a sudden these things started popping up where it was like, oh, we didn't think about that. Let's go through some things. First of all, what sets y'all apart is that you deal with all kinds of family law.
We deal with the whole spectrum of family law, everything from divorces, child custody, pet custody, adoptions, prenups, postnups, no-nups now with the legalization of
no-nups.
No-nups.
Pop-nups, right? Yes. In fact, if you have pets, even that comes up, right? Okay, who has the custody of the pets? Okay, so Texas Family Code is very specific on its roles when it comes to family issues, but the thing is, it's kind of fluid in some cases and some things aren't really set yet. So let's talk about rights to children, for example. Let's say you have one spouse who actually birthed the child and the other one is their mother, but does the state see them as their mother?
No. Not in Texas, no. Yeah. Even if that other spouse were to donate the egg, in Texas, the woman who gives birth is the mother.
Yeah.
And so in that case, even though the other spouse is the biological mother, she would still need to adopt the child.
Okay, so in legal adoption, in that case, that means they have all rights to that child and the whole bit. Okay, and they make decisions for that child if the other person cannot. Okay, now let's look at two gay men. I have friends who, one is the biological father, and the other is his husband, but same case, he has to adopt those children?
Yes. Yes. And the Texas Family Code is very gender specific, and so we're still dealing with a code that has not caught up with the new rules.
Yeah.
So in the new laws, so we have to be, in order to secure our rights, the best way to do that is to adopt.
Okay, I mean, we know surrogacy is something else that people do, that whether they can use their, okay, that's when it starts getting confusing, right? So you have somebody who can serve as a vessel, let's say.
Right.
Does that person have a right to that child?
Well, that's a little bit tricky. It depends. So there's traditional surrogacy where the surrogate would use their own donor, and Texas code does not really cover that. That would be handled just as a traditional termination and adoption. But gestational surrogacy, where the surrogate is using a donated egg, they would not, if there is a valid gestational agreement in place, then no, she does not have a right to that child. She does have the right to change her mind up until the point that she becomes pregnant. Yeah.
And this is why it's important to go find a good lawyer like y'all and go ahead and have all that stuff stated in the beginning.
That's right.
All right. Okay, who thought we would be fighting over sperm? But there are sperm donors, and then when you do that, you have extra out there, and then people, who lays claim to that?
It really depends. So in that case, are you asking if...
Let's say you have a donation, and then you have a couple of kids, and then you decide not to have any more, and somebody else says, well, I want that back.
Yeah, well, that's a property. They're treated, the law is not really clear on that. So we've had some different cases.
You need to have a donor agreement. If you have a man who's willing to give his sample, and let's say the woman's using the turkey baster method, and they're not going through doctors, they don't have donor agreements or anything like that, the woman can do whatever she wants with that baby ultimately, and the man could potentially be on the hook for child support down the road. So you need to have a donor agreement in place to establish, you know, I'm not going to be the father of this child. I don't want any parental rights. I don't want to pay child support, and what the, you know, who the mother's going to be, and when, you know, establish the parent-child relate. Well, she'll birth a child, so it'll be established.
And the other thing to know too, where sperm donation is concerned, is that the Texas Family Code does state that a donor does not have legal rights as a parent. However, it defines a donor as someone who provides that donation to a licensed physician for the purposes of assisted reproduction. So if you're using the turkey baster method and you're not going through a licensed physician, you need to be sure to have all of the proper agreements and contracts in place.
Did you ever know there are so many ways to have children, have families, right? Okay, so, okay, then the other way, of course, is just straight out adoption. And I know in Texas at one time, They said that gay couples could not adopt, and then they opened that up to not only gay couples but single people as well. We certainly know that we have a pressure on a system to give kids good, loving homes. Okay, that opened up. They said now you can adopt, but there are things that are changing there too.
Right. So now the foster care system is moving toward privatization. And so we're fortunate in Texas that we have such a large supportive faith-based community. But recent rulings by the courts in Texas have allowed faith-based organizations to limit who they choose to license and work with. So they do have the option to say that they don't want to license members of the LGBTQ community as foster parents or adoptive
so
parents.
that's kind of like that Brave New World right there too, because I would imagine discrimination cases would come up with that. All right, there's a thing called KidSafe.
Yes.
And the reason why we need to if a child can go to a loving home is to just get rid of that judgment. We have so many kids out there who will never find that home. And I remember being with a girl who was 13 years old, and I said, "You're 13, why is it so important for you to actually be adopted?" She said, "I just want somebody to say they want me."
Right. Yeah, we have 1,200 kids a year approximately 1,200 kids a year here in Texas who age out of foster care without a meaningful connection to a loving adult. And so what KidSafe's doing is we're working to launch KidSafe later on this year in the fall, and we work to match older kids in foster care with stable, loving adults through a hosting program.
Yeah. Why are you so passionate about this?
I think, as a child, I didn't have the most perfect childhood, as many of us don't, and I became familiar with CPS, and it was never a good experience, not for any particular reason. I think it's just they're overworked and they've got a lot going on. And so from a very young age, I became very passionate about coming back as I got older and making a difference.
All right. Family law is emotionally charged no matter what situation you're dealing in, especially when a family is dealing with divorce. One of the things that you all try to do is to be a collaborative, or be part of the collaborative process, and then kind of take some of the emotion out of it.
We try to. Lots of times, people are making decisions based upon their emotion, and we try to be the guiding reasoning hand in that situation. But the client's always the boss. We don't take a case and run away with it. The client, it's a very collaborative approach. We work with our clients every step of the way, strategize, figure out what the next step is, and ultimately all the decisions are up to the client.
Yeah, but helping to figure out what's really important. Do you really need that vase? Why do you need that vase? Right. And let it go, right? All right. I'll buy you a vase. Yeah, I'll buy you a vase. Ladies, thank you very much. And to get in touch with Boudreaux, Hunter and Associates, call them at 713-333-4430, 713-333-4430, or for more information, log on to bhlawtexas.com. And as I mentioned, the more you get done before you take the next step, the better.